Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I am Shenita Connolly, your host, and I am delighted to be with you all again. Life is precious, and I do not take it for granted. So, from week to week, from day to day, from minute to minute, I am thankful, and I hope that you are too. Tonight is a very special topic. As you all know, I have been a advocate for therapy when we need it, however we need it, for as long as we need it. And I have a special guest that will join me for a conversation about mental health and for the mental health of it, because it matters in every aspect of our lives. And so, before we get started, I'd like to ask you all to like and share the broadcast as always, because I truly believe sharing is caring. When you care, you are willing to share. That's why I share what I do from week to week, from day to day, from hour to hour. I truly do care. If something means something to me, then I want others to be blessed by it as well. And so I am so excited to have Latricia Gill Brown, better known as LT. I am so delighted that I had a chance to spend time with friends and classmates back at the beginning of October. And I had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting this beautiful lady. And so I am hoping that you guys will take notes, mental notes, literal notes, so that when you need to pull those notes out, pull that information out to help you through whatever you may be dealing with, that you are ready, you are equipped. So, as always, Life with Shenita started with an ultimate goal to help people overcome life's challenges and to encourage you and me to live a vibrant life. We all know that life throws curveballs, it throws us into places that we don't desire. And so, how do we move past those moments if we're not mentally healthy? And so, I just want to make sure as the holidays are approaching that we are ready to handle whatever may come, whether we lose a job, whether we lose a loved one, whether we lose income, whatever the case may be, we lose friends, that we are equipped to continue to live through the challenges because they're definitely coming. So, if you would again like and share the broadcast, whether you're watching it in real time or you're watching it during a replay, please subscribe to the channel to the YouTube channel. Please follow Life with Shenita's page or my personal page, and just stay abreast to the things that I'm blessed to be able to share. So let's kind of talk about mental health. Why is mental health important? I mean, what's all this talk about it? So, mental health actually includes our emotional, our psychological, and social well being. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and make healthy or unhealthy choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood to adolescent through adulthood. And it's also, and when I think about it, I think about my personal experiences, and I'll share those in a moment or throughout the show. Um, and treating any mental health conditions is crucial to stabilizing constructive behaviors, emotions, thoughts. Sometimes we may can talk to a psychologist about what's happening in our life, then at other times we might need a psychiatrist who may have to prescribe medication to help us stabilize behaviors or emotions or thoughts. But if we don't take this part of our life serious, then we won't get to the necessary resources that we need. Focusing on our mental health care can increase productivity. It can enhance our self-image and improve relationships. Because if we're mentally good, then we're going to be good in our relationship with other people. Nurturing mental health doesn't just improve our daily functions, but it also can help us control or at least combat some of the physical health problems directly related or linked to our mental health condition. For example, heart disease and stress are related. So managing stress might have a positive outcome on heart disease. Other benefits of taking care of our mental health can include improving our moods, reducing our anxiety, creating an enhanced sense of inner peace, thinking more clearly, improving our self esteem. So I really want to make sure that we are thinking about this topic, this part of our lives. Our mental health is something that impacts our eating and sleeping habits and has a lot to do with our physical health as well. It is important to address our mental health needs, and oftentimes we will feel the impact of it in other areas of our health as well. So, without further delay, I am going to bring in my special guest, Miss Latricia Gill Brown, to help us continue this conversation, this important conversation about mental health, because for the mental health of it, it matters. And because it matters, we're going to continue the conversation, not only today, but we're going to continue it each and every time I feel a need to have the conversation on my broadcast. Because I honestly believe that, if we don't take care of this part of our life, we can't be the best that we can be. And we definitely want to do that. So, again, like and share this broadcast this evening and welcome my guests. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
LT.
Yes.
So
Yes.
before we get started, I told them your name is Latricia Brown,
Mhm.
but I'd like for you, Latricia, to introduce yourself. I know you're a mental
Sure.
health advocate, but I
Mhm.
want you to take a moment, a few minutes, and just grace the people. I know some of them have read your bio, but I want you to grace the people with who you are.
Sure. Sure. Thank you for having me. I am just so excited to be here. And as you were opening up the show and I was listening to you, I was like, yes, yes, yes. So I'm just it's an honor really for me to be with you this evening. My name is Latricia Gill Brown. My friends call me LT. I have been a mental health advocate probably all of my life. I remember growing up in Hartford, Connecticut, and being raised by my grandmother, and having in our family relatives who battled schizophrenia, who battled bipolar disorder, who battled depression. And this was back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, where there weren't many conversations at all, I think, about mental health, particularly among African Americans.
You better say it.
Yeah, and at the same time, as I got older, I knew in my life being affected probably by their lives that I too would struggle a little bit with mental health issues. I went to college in Hartford, my hometown. I went to Trinity College, go Bantams. And then I went out to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin, and I got my master's degree in African American history. And so for me, I knew I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach about African Americans. I wanted to teach and advocate in my classroom in terms of how important African American history is. It is American history. It is a part of the discussions that we have in terms of American history. After I graduated from Madison in Wisconsin, I came down to Pensacola, Florida, and I started working at Pensacola Junior College, which is now Pensacola State College. I worked there for 14 years, and it was just a beautiful experience for me. I taught African American history and culture, American history, and I even, Shenita, designed my own course that dealt with African American humanities. So it dealt with the music of our people, it dealt with the history of and the culture of our people coming from Africa to the New World. And I just had a fantastic time teaching. At the same time, I married one of your classmates, Gill Brown, and we have been married now for almost 26 years.
What a blessing.
Yeah, it is a blessing. You know, people say to me oftentimes, wow, you know, you live in Florida. What made you move down there? And I said, it's the sand between my toes and just living down here. You know how beautiful it is, especially this time of year.
Oh, my goodness.
So Gabriel and I, we have 3 children. We have 2 adult daughters. One is a graduate of Florida State University. The other is graduating this year from Belhaven University in Jackson, Mississippi, with a dance degree. And our son, he attends Pensacola State College, and he's going to be getting a degree in engineering. So we have been quite busy over the last 20 or so years with the children. So I'm just delighted to be here, because I think, and I love how you said this is a conversation, because I think it's definitely a conversation that we need to have. And I loved how you also said it's a continuous conversation. So it's not just one conversation that we have tonight and then we put it on the shelf. No, in fact, it's a conversation that is ongoing. Because I think as people grow, as people change, you know, their needs change. And I'm just delighted to be here with you tonight.
And I want to say how much fun I had with you and Gabriel at the retirement party.
It was.
I danced, I laughed, we communed. It was such a wonderful time. So I am so grateful to have been a part of that event, to have met you, to have had a wonderful time. He made sure we danced and we had a ball. So
we did. Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's break the ice a little bit.
Okay.
So if you had to describe to a blind person the color yellow, how would you describe the color yellow to them?
You know, when I thought about the icebreaker question, my friend who is a part of NAMI, which we'll talk about in a little bit, she's blind. And her name is Stephanie. And I thought about how would I describe the color yellow to her? I would do it in terms of the taste, the smell, the feel, as well as touch. So for taste, I would describe yellow as a banana. For touch, I would describe yellow as a soft cashmere sweater. For smell, it would be the banana again. And for feeling, it would be the sun rays on your face.
Oh, I love it.
That's how I would describe the color yellow.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And they would get it.
Yeah.
Every time
she would. She would.
That would be the goal, that they got it. And it's exactly what we're trying to do tonight, to make sure that someone either gets it or they're reminded of it.
That's right. That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right.
As we approach the holidays, this conversation is a great one around the table for Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because I think when we talk about mental health, I did some research, and through the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, I didn't realize that almost 60 million Americans in 2020 were diagnosed with a mental health condition. That is almost 1 in 5 of us
I'm not
that,
surprised.
yeah, that's dealing with a mental health condition.
Mhm.
And I loved when you said that it is not just the mental health, but it's connected with your physical health.
Mm.
It's connected with your emotional health, and it's also connected with your spiritual health.
Yes, it is.
There was a saying, and it talked about life is like a chair. And you know how chairs have 4 legs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if one leg is your mental health and it is not standing straight so that the
Mm.
chair is balanced on the floor, you are not balanced.
I love it.
And the mental health is just as important. Gabriel and I talk about this a lot. It's just as important as if you have diabetes, you go to the doctor and get checked. If you have cancer, you go to the doctor and get checked.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any physical ailment, you go to the doctor and get checked. And I think the same can definitely be said, even more so, about mental health, because
Yeah.
just like that chair, if that's not balanced in your life, you are going to struggle.
Yes.
You're going to struggle.
I'm so glad you used that illustration of a chair with 4 legs, because if it's not stable and we fall,
Mhm.
break a bone,
That's right. That's right.
it could be devastating to our life
Absolutely.
in many ways.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
the stability of it, as well as the other factors and areas of our life that you talked about and I mentioned earlier, is important.
It
And so
is.
as a race, particularly Black people, I
Mm-hmm.
can say that because, like you said earlier, and we all know, we shy away from this topic.
Yes.
We have to embrace it and
Mm-hmm.
get to a place where we're comfortable talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
The statistics you just shared,
Yeah.
astronomical.
It is. You know, we just had an election for midterms, and I was thinking about our population in the United States. I think there's like 350 million of us. If almost 60 million of us have a mental health condition, Shenita, that's a lot of people.
A lot of people. And
I
are we
mean,
are we not seeing the impact of the mental health issues like everywhere? The
absolutely.
crime,
Yes.
the outbursts, the
Yes.
domestic violence. We're
Yes.
seeing it, right?
We are. We are.
Like never before.
Like never before. And they say, politically, that people who have mental illness, like the shooters, for example, that unfortunately took the lives of the kids, for example, in Uvalde, he was mentally ill. Somewhere along the way, he fell through the cracks. And it is so unfortunate because he didn't get the help that he needed. I think about the
Mm.
fact that in our culture, there is always a push, I think, for people to look healthy, to be young, to be engaging. But if your mental health house is not right, there's a fire going on
That's right.
somewhere,
That's right. And you know, Latricia,
and you're going to eventually need to fire out.
yes, you're gonna need it. I actually had a appointment with one of my doctors this afternoon, a virtual appointment. And I was
Mhm.
telling her that I believe I have traveled down a functionally depressed journey on my journey of life, right?
Okay. Okay.
Functioning. Every day you get up, you
Yes.
go to work, you
Every
do this,
day.
you
Mm-hmm.
do. But
Mm-hmm.
in the scheme of things, there was this cloud. And
Sure.
I had to, so when my husband passed in 2015, I actually did grief share group therapy, right?
Yes, I've done that.
Mhm.
Yes. It's
Wonderful,
wonderful.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
However, I realized when COVID happened that I didn't have enough. So in 2020, as the job was really making sure, because COVID was at the height and we were working from home, our bosses and managers were like, please make sure that you take care of your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Please make sure we have services through the employment, schedule some time, seek therapy. And I kept thinking all through 20. And then I decided at the end of 20, I am going to sign up to see a therapist in January.
Good for you.
And so I signed up and had 8 sessions with
Good
an
for
amazing
you.
attorney. I mean, amazing
Yes.
therapist who was a guest on my show. And
Right.
and I've referred him to many people since then, but it was a
Yes.
great session. And in the midst of those 8 weeks, my brother David passed away unexpectedly.
Oh.
So that session that I was in was able to help me even
Mm-hmm.
get through that period, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm still devastated with the loss
Sure.
of my brother, and
Sure.
not to mention my husband, my mom, and dad.
Mm-hmm.
But functionally depressed, many of us have experienced that. And so we have to sometimes sit back and analyze our life and say, am I really good? Am I really good?
Yeah.
Or am I
It's,
just functioning?
again, I think you hit it on the nail on the head about functioning. There are so many of us, especially with COVID, who were functionally depressed because we weren't going into the office. This platform is a beautiful platform. I love it. I mean, the fact that I can see you, the
Mhm,
fact that you are up in Atlanta, I'm here in Pensacola,
mhm.
but there's something to be said about the human touch.
Yes.
There's something to be said about me looking you eye to eye where we can reach out, we can touch. Shenita, are you okay
Hug.
today?
Yes.
Hug, be
Mhm,
there for each
mhm,
other.
mhm,
Again, this is a platform that we had to use during COVID,
mhm,
but I think you're absolutely spot
mhm,
on. Something was missing. And
mhm.
so many of us became people who were functioning with depression.
Yep.
Functioning with depression.
Yes. And
Yes,
just imagine if that goes unattended to for
yes.
many, many, many years, you could pop, you could blow up,
Oh,
you could lose
yes.
it.
Oh,
And so
yes.
we have to really take this part of our life as serious as we take other areas of our life.
That is so
Mhm,
true.
mhm.
For me, mental health is just as important as my spiritual health.
It
And I
is.
put a premium on my spiritual health with having a
Mhm,
relationship with God or a higher power.
mhm.
Because again, going back to the chair, if the spiritual health is not balanced, if the emotional health is not balanced, the physical, the emotional, then what am I doing? I'm
Mhm.
going to fall. And at this age that I am at 51 years old, break a bone. And
Right.
you know what that means.
Oh,
You know what
it'll
that
take a long
means.
time to
Take a
heal
long
if it
time to
heals.
heal. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So we know that this is important, just as
Mhm.
important as the other areas of our life that
That's right.
we mentioned. So we want to make sure that people are really assessing their
Mhm.
mental health.
Mhm.
What would you consider to be the leading cause of mental health issues today?
Today, I think stress. One of the things I just went to intensive state meeting for NAMI, which is the National Alliance on the Mentally Ill. I'm a member and I'm actually vice president of our NAMI chapter here in Pensacola.
Awesome.
And the meeting was down in Orlando. And we had many, many talks about stress and mental health. Life moves so fast. We can be on the internet, lickety split. We drive fast. We talk fast. We're working, their jobs are expecting more and more production from us.
Mhm,
And yet, one of the things that kept coming up at the NAMI conference was stress.
mhm,
And I got an opportunity to meet Dr. Ken Duckworth, who is like our guru for NAMI.
mhm,
And he is a PhD, MD. And
mhm,
he said that what they're finding is that stress is putting people at a disadvantage for mental health conditions, in that what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you have in your body, in your brain, because we know that mental health deals with the brain,
mhm,
do we have a propensity to be mentally ill from our brain? And is it the stress that brings it out? And Dr. Duckworth was suggesting it's the stress.
Mm-hmm.
It is the everyday stress that people are living under that pushes out the mental health condition.
I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, Dr. Duckworth wrote a book for us with NAMI, and it's called You Are Not Alone. You Are Not Alone. And I believe it's on the New York Times bestsellers list.
I just looked it up.
Yeah, it is wonderful. It is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
He walks us through modern day life, and he walks us through how we've gotten to where we are. His own father battled bipolar disorder back in the 1950s. And he talks about what his father's life would have been like today had he the toolbox to deal with his mental illness.
Yes. And I'm so glad you mentioned the toolbox, because we sometimes forget that we have a need to have a toolkit, right?
Absolutely.
And put
That's right.
resources and things in that we can pull out and use when we need them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's for our mental state, whether it's for our marriage, whether it's for our
Yep.
job, whether it's for
Yep.
parenting,
Yep.
whether it's for our spiritual life, whether it's for just in general, we need to make sure we have a toolbox. And
That's
a
right.
toolbox, and we put things in it that we can use when we need them, i.e., the book you just talked about. You are not alone. Sometimes, as James Thomas just said, this is good. I've never heard of functionally depressed. That's because we just keep moving, because
we keep it going.
Requires, right?
That's right. We keep it pushing.
We keep moving, not realizing, oh, let me stop and take care of this part of my life, because it's just as important as getting that prostate check.
That's right.
Breast check.
That's right.
It's as important as having a moment to have sex.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
I'm just keeping it real.
That's right.
We have to make sure that we are taking care of our mental state. And that we take a moment, and like you said, it's important to touch.
It is.
When a baby's born and is never cuddled, and and they did a study on that years ago.
Yes, they did.
The need for that.
Yes.
Even adults, just imagine people who live alone and they don't have anybody to just grab them and just hug. I had a friend text me the other day and say, I just need a hug. Well, I wasn't close enough to give a hug, but I sent a virtual hug and said, here is a hug. Because I can imagine what it feels like. And so sometimes I just grab the grants. Come, just let me hug you.
Yes.
You know
yes.
what I mean?
Yes. You know, and we need that. We need that as human beings. I love the fact that you cited that study about the babies that didn't get touched. They died because it is so important. Even us having this conversation and reminding people about that. And it's something that's so simple, right?
Yes.
It's something that's so simple.
And so necessary.
Yes, it is.
And
yes,
so
it is.
we just have to make sure that we're conscious.
Yes.
We're open.
Yes.
Because sometimes we're not even open
to
the conversation and the changes that might need to be made so that we can get what it is we need.
That is so true. You know, during the holidays, all of us are busy. I mean, working, taking care of family. You mentioned the grands, trying to, make sure that they get what they need. One of the things that I put in my toolbox is an acronym called HALT. HALT. HALT.
HALT. I like that.
And as we spend time with our families, and if we get overwhelmed, and if we are struggling with a mental health condition, HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Those are the 4 questions that we can ask ourselves. What's going on with me? Especially if you're stressed, especially if you need to take a time out. And so we halt. Am I hungry? Well, let me eat. Am I angry? Well, let me talk about it.
Mm,
Am I lonely? I'm thinking about your friend who mentioned having the hug.
yes.
Or am I tired?
Mm-hmm.
Because that can affect our mental health as
Mm,
well,
mm.
especially during this time where there are holiday parties and shopping that needs to be done. You and I, we were just talking about the fact that Thanksgiving is what, in a week, 2 weeks?
Yes, two
And
weeks.
then there's Christmas. So there's the hustle and bustle of this time. Putting on top of that, if you have a mental health condition, it can be downright overwhelming.
It can be. And just think about a person who has all this coming up. They
Yes.
may not have enough money to do some extras. They may
Hmm.
not have family members around to celebrate with.
That's right.
And so all of that adds to
Yes, it does.
the
Yes, it
impact
does.
of their mental stability. And
Yes, it
so
does.
we need to reach out to people. I,
We
I
do.
oftentimes I will text. I may not be on the
Good
phone
for
a lot,
you.
talk a lot, but I reach out and I'll text and say, just thinking of you.
Yeah, good for
How
you.
you doing? I may
Good
send a
for
good
you.
morning. I will check in. I don't, do you need something? Let me
Yeah,
know. I may not be able to do it, but I may have the
yeah,
resources and the people around that can assist and help.
yeah.
And so check in.
Check
Check
in.
in on your folks.
That's right. That's right. Because one of the things that we know with mental health issues and conditions is that in our brains, it's the serotonin and the epinephrine. You know, the serotonin is the feel good chemical that we need.
Mhm,
And by just reaching out to somebody, that can make you feel good.
mhm, mhm,
That can get that serotonin moving
mhm.
and make you feel as though they do care,
Yeah.
especially this time. I as a sidebar, you were talking about grief. I too have done a lot of work with grief,
Mhm.
and you have to have me come back on your show and talk about grief
Yes,
too.
let's do it.
And let's have a conversation about
Mhm,
that as well.
mhm, mhm.
Because in our culture, again, another stressor, grief, we
Yeah,
don't deal with well at
we
all,
don't. We don't.
at all,
We'll
at
just
all.
shut down.
We shut down. That's right.
As
That's
if
right.
it didn't happen or
That's right.
let's not talk about it.
That's right.
In my first book, Is Your House in Order?
Hmm.
It's talking about making sure that we are even prepared for the inevitable, right?
Wow. Yes.
Are we
Yes.
prepared for it? Meaning, do we have enough life insurance?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
could, and when you don't, and your life turned upside down, which could send you over the top, right?
It can send you right over the top.
Over the top.
Yeah.
So, do we have a will or
Hmm.
power of attorney? Do we have an advanced medical directive?
That's
Do we have our affairs in order, which could add to and compound when somebody
right.
gets sick or
Hmm.
somebody dies? What about the finances? What about the
Yeah.
banking stuff? Do we have
Yes.
somebody listed on the bank
Yes.
account that says, pay these funds to upon my death?
Hmm.
Thinking about those things. And so that's what God has instructed me to do, to make sure that I use my situation of being devastated,
Yes.
when you go
Yes.
from over $6,000 a month down to less than $1,000 a month unless you're working, how
Wow.
devastating that can be in
That
the scheme of
is.
things, right?
Hmm.
And so
Right.
I'm still here. So when I say to people every morning when I wake up and say, I thank God that I'm here for a new day, I say good morning to people. I understand it from a different perspective,
Yes.
right? From the
Yes.
devastation of your husband laying down next to you, getting ready to say, I love you, and
Hmm.
collapse from a heart attack that he never recovered from.
And he never recovered from.
Right. And so when I'm talking about life with Shenita, I'm talking about every aspect of life that anyone could deal with, not just
Hmm.
me,
Absolutely.
anyone,
Anyone.
any and
Anyone.
every aspect of life.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
so we, in this part right here that we're talking about for the mental health of it,
Hmm.
we have to make sure that we are focused on our mental health as equally as important as we focus on the other aspects of our
Hmm.
life.
That is so true. That is so true. You know, when we talk about the holidays again and people who are struggling, I thought about what helps me. There are six primary things that have helped me in the past. The first one being journaling.
Yes.
just even, I was thinking about this today, going to the bookstore, getting out of the house, going to buy the journal at a Walmart or a Target
Or a dollar store.
or a dollar store.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Looking for your journal can boost your mood, can
Yes.
boost that serotonin and get
Yes.
you to baseline where, you have that toolbox and you put
Mhm.
that journal in your toolbox.
Mhm.
Another one that I thought of that we're starting to do now here in Pensacola, Gabe and I, because the weather is breaking, exercise.
Yep.
Exercise is important.
Yes, it is. It just boosts.
Walking, it
It boosts it.
is. It
It boosts
boosts
the
it.
mood.
It does. It does.
Mhm.
The third thing, meditation.
Yes.
Meditation is important, I
Yes.
think. Prayers are a form of meditation.
Yes. As a matter of
Whether
fact, I'm sorry, my iPhone reminds me every morning to take a moment of mindfulness thinking.
good for
I
you.
need you to take a moment and
Good
I
for
need you to
you.
pause and do some mindful thinking.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good
Just
for
a
you.
moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you're reading my notes because that was my next point.
Get out.
Mindfulness. I love mindfulness.
Yes.
I do. And as a person who, struggles with this time of year, especially because, oh boy, and it pains me to even say it, it's getting darker earlier.
Let
That
me
is a toughie for me.
Can I tell you something? My coworker
Yes.
says she leaves home is dark, and when
Yes.
she leave work is dark.
It's
She
dark.
is depressed during this time of year. I never thought about how the impact
Yes.
of this time change affects people because I've
Oh,
never been impacted like that
uh-huh.
until she says, I'm like, wow. But they're
Yeah.
right. I'm hoping that they'll get somewhere and leave it so we'll have more light.
I would love that. I would
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
In fact, for me, what I did with the assistance of my doctor, because I think if someone is struggling with a mental health condition, particularly bipolar disorder, you don't want to get too much light. But I went and I bought a light box from Amazon, and here it is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And what it has here are different gradations from 10 minutes to 60 minutes. And you can turn the light up from low, medium to high. You use it in the morning, you turn it on. I start with about 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And what I do, Shenita, I sit there with my cup of coffee and I, sip on that and I'm, being mindful, or I am reading scripture or reading something.
Hmm.
And I just let the light shine on me. And they have found in some studies that it is so beneficial, especially this time of year when it
I
gets
love
dark
it.
early.
Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that because I had
Yeah.
not heard of the light box, and
Yeah.
so thank you for that. I'm
You're
gonna share that
welcome.
with my colleague because I think,
Yes,
oh, that's awesome.
yes. Another aspect that I think is important too, when we're dealing with depression and mental health conditions, especially this time of year with the stress, is
Mhm.
music.
Ooh, I
Music
love
is,
music.
I know, because you are a great dancer. You was
I
getting it,
look,
girl.
I'm out there trying to do something.
You
Let me
was
tell you what
getting
I
it.
realized, I'm not so great when it comes to line dancing.
Oh, me neither. Oh, me neither. And I hope you didn't see me when I was trying to do the line dance. But
I know,
yeah,
but dancing, yes, music and dancing just gives me life.
absolutely. Yep.
Everybody that knows me
Yep.
knows that I love to
Yep.
dance and I love
Yep.
music.
And you are a good dancer.
Oh,
And then
thank
the
you. You
last
too.
one, the last one that I thought about too, and you said it already, and I just want to reiterate is if it gets to a point where one is really struggling, go to your doctor, whether
Mhm,
it's a primary care, whether it's a psychiatrist that can write a script for you, or talk therapy.
mhm,
And I just so appreciated you saying that because it really set the foundation for our conversation
mhm,
today.
mhm. That is so important. And you know what helps me also is to talk out my feelings, talk
Yes.
out what I'm
Yes.
thinking, and
Yes.
journal. You mentioned the journaling. If we can't
Yes.
talk it out, write it out.
Write it out. I love that. I
I have
love that.
used, and people don't really, some people know this, but most people don't know this. I have used Facebook as a journal for years, right?
Wow.
And
Yes.
so there are many parts of my life that I have journaled
Mm,
for years. And so
good for
I can go
you.
back when I decide to do the memoir, I can go back and pull
Mhm,
data that I've used
mhm, mhm,
in journaling on
mhm,
Facebook
mhm.
to include.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to read that memoir because I know it's going to be outstanding.
Yes, there's so many things about my life that people just don't know that I am going to share
Yes.
openly and honestly because
Yes.
I don't want them to ever think I had it made because I didn't. I
You
made
know,
some decisions
yes.
early on in life that took me down a different road than
Mhm,
and a lot of people say it was destined. I believe we can change the trajectory of our life
mhm.
depending on the choices that we make, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we might have was supposed to go down this road over here.
Mhm, mhm.
However, we decided to go this way,
That way.
which took
Yeah.
us down a different destination
Yes.
than the other road would have taken us. So
Yes.
that's where I am with mine.
Yes.
Some
Me
people
too.
may disagree with me, but
No.
that's how I
No,
feel.
yes.
And I was
Yeah.
disobedient as a teen, which
Mhm,
took me down a road. And I believe if I had been obedient and taken a different path, I would have a different life. Okay,
mhm,
yes, we may not have this part that you're seeing today, but I think it would have been a different part that you
mhm,
would have seen.
mhm, mhm. You
But
know,
I'm not sad. I'm not disappointed because I could be.
right, right, right.
Mhm.
And I think for all of us, you know, taking the different paths, and scripture even talks about that, does it not? About
It
taking the
does.
road less traveled. And I
It
like to
does.
think that I did that. And I like to
Mhm.
think that you did that. And it
Mhm.
got us where we are having this conversation
Yes.
because there's so much stigma. And this is one of my pet peeves that's attached to mental illness. You know, oh, she crazy. Oh, he crazy. No, it is your brain
It's an
that
imbalance.
is an
Mhm.
imbalance, a chemical imbalance.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
And it has to be attended to.
That's right. Just like as
Mhm.
we said earlier, that diabetes, that
Yes.
sugar,
It has to be attended
it
to.
has to be attended to. Yes.
Mhm. And so, as we're talking about that, let's talk about some suggestions that we can help someone use to get through the holidays if they're struggling with mental
Mhm,
health issues,
mhm.
compounded with financial issues and
Oh, wow.
uh, all kind
Yeah.
of health issues and other things.
Yeah.
What are some
Yeah.
suggestions that you would offer?
You know, I think talk therapy is just incredible. I know people may feel like, well, if I go to a therapist or a counselor or a licensed mental health counselor, you know, I'm telling my business. No, you're there to try to work out what is going on with you. You are there with a trained professional. And, you know, I found that going to talk therapy, I can be myself.
Yes,
I don't have to wear a mask. You
I
know,
love it.
the great poet Paul Laurence Dunbar talked about we wear a mask, and he
Hmm.
was talking about African Americans. And I
Hmm.
think because of racism, I think because of sexism in our community, we do.
Hmm.
But I think to go to a therapist, someone that you trust,
Yeah.
can help you and guide you through this busy, busy, busy time of year.
Yes, that is so good. And I've always, as I said earlier, I am a mental health or a therapist, a advocate for it, have always 30
Mhm.
days after our third child was born. So you
Yes,
can imagine a young wife with 3 children, husband comes and
yes.
says, I don't want to be married anymore. The mental
Oh,
state I was
yes.
in,
Oh, yes.
right?
Oh,
And I
yes.
remember wanting to hurt him. I
Yes.
remember wanting to hurt myself.
Self.
I remember
Yes.
being in a very dark place. And so that's why I remember going to therapy in Pensacola, Florida when I moved back home in
Mhm.
1989. I went to
Mhm.
therapy in
Mm,
1990. I was
mhm.
mature enough at that time to understand that what I was going through, I needed help more than prayers, more than my
Yes.
mom and dad, more than
Yes.
church. and I went and got what I needed, right?
Yes, right, right. And I think what you said about it was more than your parents, it was more than the church, it was more than your situation, that you had the maturity to go and get help. And I love that because it is about being mature. It is about owning, right? It's about owning your situation and taking that responsibility, because you, being a young mom, taking care of your family. Going back to our chair illustration again, one of your legs were wobbly, but you went and you found the opportunity to get that chair back in order.
Yes. And it was, when I tell you it was rough, it was a rough season of my life. I think that even though losing my husband was devastating, if I look back and had to evaluate which was the toughest season in my life, it was that season.
Sure. Dark. Yes.
And it took me a long time to get over it. It took me decades to forgive him. And I finally did. But I'm saying to anyone out there that's struggling with their mental health, regardless of the reason why, seek help.
Seek help. That's right. That's right. And I think that should be our mantra for this conversation. Seek help.
Yes.
Seek help.
This person said you needed to speak to someone outside your situation in order to steady yourself.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And again, it is about steadying.
Get the help you need.
Get it.
And so we're hoping that if, like we said, talk therapy, get some help out there. A lot of people are using marijuana today to balance them out. I get it. I hear it. But I do think that there's more to it than just that.
Yes.
And, you know what I mean? And so I'm hoping that, because you on this high and then you're on a low, high and then on a low, get somewhere where you can be stable.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because I think there's a difference between medical marijuana and marijuana that people who are mentally ill and have mental health conditions use to medicate. I think there's a big distinction between the two. But if medical marijuana, this is my thought, and tell me what you think of it, but if medical marijuana can help you, perhaps that needs to go in that toolbox too, plus with talk therapy.
There you go. I agree. If that is it, get what you need.
Get what you need.
Put it in your toolbox and use it so you can maintain a healthy mental state.
Absolutely.
And not go over the top and lose it.
Yes.
That's what we want to prevent people from doing.
That's right.
This Miss Willis said, speak your piece so that you can move forward. Yes. Speak your piece so that you can move forward. That way you can begin to heal. Absolutely, Miss Willis. Absolutely.
Yes.
And so how did you become a mental health advocate?
I think from when I was young, I've always been proactive. I learned
earlier.
Yeah, I learned in high school that there were two ways that one can behave. Either you can react to a situation, which puts you at a disadvantage sometimes, or you can be proactive. And I think being proactive means, again, finding tools, utilizing tools that can help you in your life. And I think, as my physical health is important, for example, I talked about falling down earlier and maybe breaking a hip. Like at 51 years old, it's important to me to go get a DEXA scan to make sure that my bones are okay. But also I've learned at 51 years old, it's important to check in with myself too, to make sure that I am okay. It's very, very important. And so I think that The same can be said for all of us. Do you check in with yourself?
Ooh, can you
And
say
to
that
be,
again? Can you
yeah,
say
do
that
you
again?
check in? Do you check in with yourself? And so for me, becoming that mental health advocate, I just want to make sure that people check in with themselves
Mm,
to make sure that they're okay. And if you're not okay mentally, get yourself in a position, in a spot where you can be okay.
yes, and it's okay. And here's the other thing. I totally agree with everything you said. It's okay not to be okay sometimes.
It's okay. And
It
there's
is
actually a
okay.
book to not
Yes,
be okay.
it's okay
Absolutely.
not to be okay. And you
Yes, it
got to
is.
be able to know when you're not okay. Checking in with yourself, as
Mm-hmm.
Latricia said. Check in,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, am I okay?
Yeah, am I
You might
okay?
not be, and be honest with yourself. And
Yeah,
when you're not, get what you need from your
that's right.
toolbox, whether it's
That's
to
right.
make the appointment with the therapist
Mm-hmm.
or the doctor or
Mm-hmm.
whomever,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever is necessary for you to get to a healthy mental state.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to do that.
And again, if people are stigmatizing you, then that's their problem. It's about them. It's not about you. You owe it to yourself to take care of who you are, because it's like being on the airplane. Remember when you get on and they tell you put your mask on
Yes.
first? Because if you don't put your mask on first, you're no good to anybody else. And
No,
it's the same thing with mental health.
that's it. And how can we even be a good parent if we're not mentally okay?
That's right.
How
You
can we
can't.
be a good partner or spouse if we're not mentally okay?
Right. Yeah.
How can
You
we be a
can't.
good worker if we're not mentally okay?
Yeah, you can't.
And we have so many people walking around that are not
Mm-hmm.
okay, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't check in with themselves. They don't
Mm-hmm.
do the mental check.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think
That's
about this
true.
aspect of their life. And we are saying, check in with yourself.
Check in with yourself.
When
Yeah.
I'm working with my widows and widowers, my Life After the Rain group,
Mm-hmm.
and I walk them through losing a spouse, I always say to them, if you feel like cursing, curse.
Of
If
course.
you feel like fussing, fuss. If you
That's
feel like
right.
screaming,
That's
scream.
right.
If you
That's right.
feel like crying, cry.
Mm-hmm.
You have that privilege to do that, because you need to work through all those emotions. You do not
Mm-hmm.
deny yourself the opportunity to feel the emotions that you're feeling.
That's right.
Many
That's
times we
right.
deny ourselves.
We
Oh, I'm
do.
good. You're not good.
You're not good. Yeah.
Check in with yourself and be honest. I'm not good today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miss Willis
There's a
said, free yourself
free
from those
yourself.
who do not support you on all levels.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's
Oh,
right.
Miss Willis, I was just saying that to someone today about a part of my life that's getting ready to happen in a few weeks. And I was just saying, I only want the people who genuinely love and care about me to show up for this
Mm-hmm.
moment in my life that I shared with you
Mm-hmm.
earlier.
Yes.
No one else.
Yes.
And I've said to God, please direct the people who are genuinely care about me to show up and be
Oh.
genuinely and sincerely happy
Mm-hmm.
for me, because I can read and discern.
Mm-hmm.
And it does my spirit no good when I can
Mm-hmm.
discern that you're showing up, but you
Yes.
really are not sincere.
Oh, wow. Yes. And I think it goes back to, again, being honest with yourself, being honest with what you need.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes we put everyone's needs ahead of our own, the husband, the children, the job. But you have to be honest with yourself
Yes.
and
When I
take that
when I
personal inventory.
and when I feel a need to get away from the kids, the family, I take it.
Yes.
And they'll tell you, my mom will be like, she's out. When I'm like, I see deuces, I'm out.
Y'all see ya.
Because I
Peace out.
realize I need to do me.
You need to do you. That's right.
And people don't, sometimes I had people to get mad at me. I was
Well,
dating a guy
that's
one
okay.
time,
Uh-huh.
and he was upset because I took some time and went away.
Good for
And
you.
and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I
Mhm.
needed that.
Mhm.
I didn't want to
Needed
attend to
that.
anybody. I just wanted to do me. So if you couldn't
Yes.
understand me needing to do me, well, you're not good for me.
Yes. This has been so great.
Yes. So Miss Willis said, take time for you. Exactly. Mental
Mhm.
health days are
Are
valid when
valid.
utilizing your sick
Yes,
days. My time is key.
is
Oh my
key.
goodness.
Yes,
Yes, yes. Mental health days are cool, are important
very.
in order for you to function on that job properly.
That's right. That's right.
So, with that being said, is there any, advice that you would
Mhm.
give to someone um, that may know someone and
Mm.
they are dealing with, and they can tell they're dealing with some mental health issues? What
Mhm.
would you say to that person? Any
Mhm.
little advice that you would say and parting words?
Okay. You know, I love this tonight. I thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
I think have a conversation.
Mhm,
Have that conversation.
mhm,
Let them know I'm here for you. Let them know what you're seeing. Let them know that everything is going to be okay. You know, the Bible speaks of things will get better if you sleep on it, or don't let the sun go down on your anger.
mhm.
Um, and that's true
It
because I
is.
think it is oftentimes darkest before the light, you
Mhm,
know. And if we remind each other that I'm here for you, that you don't have to go through this alone. I
mhm,
will drive you to the doctor.
mhm.
I will help, I will go with you to that therapy appointment. It is a good thing to take care of your mental health. If
Mhm.
we can support each other in that
Yes.
way, then I really think the 60 million of us that suffer with mental health issues, we can start to make some headway and people can start to feel better.
Yes.
Because isn't that what we want in our lives?
That's
To
what we
be
want.
happy, joyous, and free.
Yes, absolutely. And I remember you said, "Don't let the sun go down with your anger." My husband and I, we would not let the night end if there
Mhm.
was an issue. We needed to
Yes,
work through it and make peace because
yes.
we didn't want something to happen in the middle of the night and we never got a chance to get it right.
Get it right. Gabriel and
So,
I do the same thing,
mhm,
Shenita.
and so let's work through that. So we can, and sometimes, and I tell couples, and this is for the couples out there, sleep nude so that you can feel each other.
Yes, there's that touch again.
Feel it.
There's that touch. I
And
love
before
it.
you know,
I love it.
you'll be okay.
You'll be okay. I love it.
So for the couples out there, work through it.
Work through it.
Hold each other, touch each other, feel
That's
each
right.
other, all that. Forgive
That's
each other.
right.
Most importantly, forgive each other.
Forgive.
Mhm.
Yes.
So Miss Willis said, find your village. Adult like children need a village to navigate through this world. Yes, they
She
do.
is so wise.
Oh, she is. I don't know
She
who she
is.
is, but I'm hoping that I'll get to meet her one day.
Yeah, she's a wonderful person. I know her
Yes.
very well. She is
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay, awesome,
Wonderful.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I so appreciate her taking the time tonight to chime in on the conversation. That's important. And I certainly thank you for bringing
Thank you.
all that you have brought to this
Thank
conversation tonight.
you. Thank
And
you.
someone said, Ang Holloway says, who is more beautiful, Felicia Rashad, the mother on Cosby Show, and Bernadette, the daughter on Good Times? I choose
Bernadette.
Bernadette.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I love these conversations, and I'm so glad
Yes.
we had some engaging people
Thank you.
to show up, and I just
Mhm.
love you, and I can't wait to
I
see
love
you
you too.
guys again and
Yeah.
hang out with you guys
Yes.
and
Do more dancing.
do more dancing. You already know.
Yeah.
So thank you to
Thank
everyone
you.
for taking the time tonight. As always, again, Life with Shenita was started to help others avoid or overcome life's challenges and encourage you to live a vibrant life because it's a choice. We could go through all kinds of stuff. I could have stayed in that dark place when I lost my
Yes.
husband. My friend Jay White would never let me. He would call me often to say, "Nee, I know you're in a dark place, but you can't stay there.
Yep. We need our friends.
I know you're in a dark place, but you're gonna have to come up out of that."
That's right.
So he would talk to me just like that. And so
And that's
talk to
good.
your friends.
That's right. We need
Yeah.
them.
Yes. So you guys stay encouraged. Know that I love you, but God loves you most. He loves you best. Peace, love, joy today and always. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Oh, and your daughter. Thank you so much. I have my mental health tools ready for the holiday season and throughout the year. That's what we want, Gabrielle. I love it. So thank you for joining in as well. You guys have a great night. Take care.
Thank
You
you.
hold on.
Okay.